It is time now for Tom's Tidbits on KCHK. It's brought to us by Fahey & Associates Auctioneers in Norwood, Young America. They have an auction coming up on Saturday.
The next consignment auction by Fahey & Associates is at the Green Isle Equipment Consignment Auction Lot on Saturday, February 1st, starting at 9:30 a.m., accepting farm and construction equipment, plus vehicles, trailers, ATVs, tools, hay and straw, and more. To consign your own equipment, call auctioneer Tim Fahey at 952-467-3598 for auction opportunities. Daily updates online at faheyraa.com. The Winter Dance Party of 1959. Tours such as the Winter Dance Party were common in the music business, rock and roll and country too. Before the internet and MP3s and VH1 and CMT and KCHK and all kinds of radio and TV, all there was local radio and tours and American Bandstand. To make yourself known to the fans and to make them buy your records, you had to go on the road. These grueling trips were common. Old buses, tight schedules, local rock and roll radio stations in our area, KDWB and WDGY, co-sponsored these appearances, and they had door prizes, dance contests, and other promotions, and many times they were during the week. I can remember hearing about Buddy Holly's death on the radio a day or two after the crash. Buddy Holly terminated his association with the Crickets and his manager, Norman Petty, during a reunion in Lubbock, Texas on November 3rd in 1958. For the start of the Winter Dance Party tour, he assembled a new band consisting of Waylon Jennings, who played the bass, Tommy Alsop on guitar, Carl Bunch, who was his drummer. The tour was set to cover 24 Midwestern cities in 24 days. The new hit artists Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, J.P. Richardson, and Dion DiMucci joined the tour to promote their recordings and to make an extra profit. Now, the tour began in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on January 23, 1959. The amount of travel really created a logistical problem with the tour. The distance between the venues had not been considered when scheduling each appearance. Adding on to all this disarray, the tour bus was not equipped for winter weather. Its heating system broke down shortly after the tour began up in Appleton, Wisconsin, and the flu was spreading among the rest of the performers. Holly's drummer, Carl Bunch, was hospitalized in Ironwood, Michigan for severely frostbitten feet. The musicians replaced that bus with a school bus and kept on traveling. Holly's group had been the backing band for all the other acts. Holly and Richie Valens and Dion took turns playing the drums for each other at Green Bay because there was guys out sick, and also at Clear Lake. On February 2nd, they arrived in Clear Lake, and they were to play at the Surf Ballroom. The venue had not been a scheduled stop. It wasn't originally on the tour, but the tour promoters, hoping to fill up an open date instead of giving the musicians a day off, they called the Surf Ballroom manager, Carol Anderson, and offered him the show. He accepted, and they set it up for Monday night, February 2nd. By the time Buddy Holly arrived at that venue at Monday night, he was really frustrated with his tour bus. He decided to charter a plane to take him to the next stop in Moorhead, Minnesota, so he wouldn't have to travel in that bus, and it'd give him enough time to do his laundry and things like that. So what did they perform that night at the Surf Ballroom? Well, the set list started every night with Gotta Travel On. That was always the first song. It Doesn't Matter Anymore. That was a new release, so they did that on the tour. Always did Peggy Sue, That'll Be the Day, and It's So Easy, Every Day, and Oh Boy, Early in the Morning, and Rave On. Every once in a while they'd do some Little Richard songs, kind of like listening to K-Check, isn't it? Carol Anderson called Hubert Dwyer, who was the owner of the Dwyer Flying Service over at Mason City, Iowa, just a few miles away, to charter a plane to get to Fargo, North Dakota. So they made flight arrangements, and Roger Peterson, who was a 21-year-old local pilot, was the pilot. The flying service charged $36 per passenger in a 1947 Beechcraft Bonanza V-tail. Bonanza sat 3 passengers and the pilot. Richardson had contracted the flu during the tour, and he asked Waylon Jennings if he could have his seat. And when Holly learned that Jennings wasn't going to fly, he said to Waylon, he says, I hope your old bus freezes up. And Waylon comes back with, well, I hope your old plane crashes. A humorous but ill-fated response that haunted Waylon the rest of his life. Richie Valens, who had once had a fear of flying, asked Tommy Alsop for his seat on the plane. Alsop and Richie decided to toss a coin to decide, and the rest is history. Bob Hale, a DJ at KRIO KRIB, not KRBI, KRIBAM was working that concert that night. He flipped the coin in the ballroom side stage room right before they left. Valens won, and Dion then approached to join the flight, but it's unclear when he asked. Dion decided that the $36 was the monthly rent his parents paid for an apartment, so he couldn't justify spending the money. So where else did they go? We know that the crash was, ended the careers of these guys, but what else was scheduled on that tour? January 23rd, these were the places they went. January 23rd, they were in Milwaukee. January 24th, they were at the Eagles Ballroom in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The 25th, they were at the Cato Ballroom in Mankato, Minnesota. 26th, they were in Eau Claire. The 27th, they were in Montevideo, Minnesota. January 28th, the Prom Ballroom on University Avenue in St. Paul. The 29th, the Capitol Theater in Davenport, Iowa. The 30th, the Larimar Ballroom in Fort Dodge. The Armory in Duluth on January 31st. The Riverside Ballroom in Green Bay on the 1st. And the 2nd was the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake, Iowa. And the rest is rock and roll history. Bobby V and the Shadows performed in Fargo February 3rd, and Jimmy Clanton, who Tex has been interviewing, Fabian and Frankie Avalon were substituted as the tour's headline in Moorhead. Dion and the Belmonts and the Crickets continued until the end of the tour. Now, the day was forever immortalized as The Day the Music Died by Don McLean in 1972 in his 1972 anthem, American Pie. For many people, that tour and the subsequent crash symbolized the end of a period of rock and roll and in American history. It seems like the innocence was forever lost. But now going back to that tour, it's interesting to think of guys traveling in an old bus that go from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Kenosha, Wisconsin to Mankato, back over to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, way out west to Montevideo, Minnesota, then to St. Paul, then all the way down to Davenport, Iowa, then up to Fort Dodge, and then to Duluth, to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and then down to Clear Lake, Iowa, and Moorhead. It's amazing that they set up these tours for these young guys, and it's no wonder they wanted to fly. But as I said, the rest is history. And we got the big weekend coming up in Clear Lake this weekend, and Tex is going to do some good things for us.
And to clarify, Tom,
yes.
The show was on the 2nd of February. The crash was on the 3rd because it obviously took place after midnight.
Exactly. They left. Okay. They took off from the Mason City Airport, and they flew just north, just a couple of miles to the tour site. And the tour site is a popular tourist spot now. You can walk up to the tour site. It's down what we would call a township cartway, a kind of a grass road. You could walk in about, I'd say, at least a quarter mile off of the main road, and there's a little monument there, and it's quite moving to go there.
And that is Tom's Tidbits today on KCHK, once again brought to us by Fahey and Associates Auctioneers of Norwood, Young America.
The next consignment auction by Fahey and Associates is at the Green Isle Equipment Consignment Auction Lot on Saturday, February 1st, starting at 9:30 a.m., accepting farm and construction equipment, plus vehicles, trailers, ATVs, tools, hay and straw, and more. To consign your own equipment, call auctioneer Tim Fahey at 952-467-3598 for auction opportunities. Daily updates online at faheyraa.com.
The broadcast taking place on KCHK Radio, New Prague, Minnesota, February 2015. The preceding has been recorded.